One of the most destructive lies that came out of the BLM scam, and it is a scam. We're going to call it what it is from now on. One of the biggest lies that came out of that scam is this idea that black people are being hunted down, disproportionately being targeted and attacked by white police officers, right? There is this systemic issue of black men and black women being taken out by white police officers. And this narrative was pushed through the media. Now, when we had the George Floyd situation, the summer of love, as some called it, right? That story, that video, and the overall messaging was on a 24-hour cycle. I'm talking about the same 24-hour news cycles they were doing with the Trump propaganda is what they were doing with this message of black people are being hunted down, etc. Right? And so I think it is it's a good time to revisit this entire thing because we are now at the 5-year anniversary. I believe they're saying 5-year anniversary of the George Floyd incident. And I will call it that because there's still a lot of there's a lot of murky information about the entire trial. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors that are still taking place this far ahead of the actual situation that happened. But 5 years later, here we are. So I wanted to start with something that, most of y'all probably wouldn't think. It's not any sort of George Floyd monument or something like that. But instead, it is a recent viral video. I don't know how old this is. The internet is forever. So there's content that emerges. It becomes viral after a long time or whatever it is, but it's still relevant. So here you're going to see a scene of what would contradict the entire idea of black folks are just being hunted down by police. And that essentially is, what all culminated into this worshiping of George Floyd, who became this figurehead of black police brutality against black folks in America. So let's go ahead and do this. So if you are maybe listening to this, you're not watching, or maybe you are watching, you're confused. This is a clip of at least 2 women, and I use that term loosely. Oh, great, we have 3. We have another one on the top of the roof of a police car twerking. Now, the whole twerking conversation, I can say it's getting old, but it never gets old because we have to shame this into oblivion. Why is it that they just can't help themselves from twerking everywhere they go? Why is it that everywhere, I'm talking about restaurants, but probably a bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah somewhere, these types of individuals are twerking. Funerals, twerking. So am I surprised that they're twerking on top of a police car? Well, if I'm to go with the narrative that is pushed, absolutely yes. And yes, it is a police car. It says police right there because somebody might say, oh, that's probably security. First of all, you shouldn't be twerking on any damn anything. And then these be the same people crying RIP to our sis because she got hit by a car while she was twerking on top of a car. But anyway, here we have a clip of what you obviously see as police enforcement who is trying to drive as gently as humanly possible as these 3 ratcheteers are doing what they do best, which is clamoring for attention. So the reason I brought that up before the rest of this George Floyd sequence is because, again, it's a lie. I can bring up countless cases where you see black men and black women acting outrageously. I'm talking about violently, etc. I did a video of a big back in Walmart. She smacked the hell out of a cop and they wrestled to the ground. She was in one of those scooters, those synonymous Walmart scooters. And then all of a sudden she could walk. As soon as she got to the snack aisle, now she could walk. And she started basically wrestling this cop and he wrestled her down and was able to get her in cuffs. Probably had to use a few different chain of cuffs in order to get behind the big back. But, that was just one example of a multitude of cases I've seen. I mean, I've heard of even situations of people actually having weapon around police and not having their lives taken. So are there racist police officers? Yes, there's racists everywhere, black, white, and everything in between. But it is a lie. Statistically speaking, it is not this disproportionate rate. There is not more per capita black people lives being taken than white people. That's just the facts. Sure, you could go back in the 1930s. Yes, the Democrats were indeed looking to take black people out. Yes, the Democrats have always been that racist. But anyway, we're going to get to the second clip, seemingly unrelated, but as some say, an oldie but a goodie. Here we have Exhibit B. Not that one, but this one right here.
This is the Lord's work right here, man.
So
this is the Lord's work right here. And this is
just in case you guys didn't hear, this is the Lord's work right here. So what exactly is the Lord's work, you might be asking? Again, maybe you're not watching, maybe you're listening. We have a Caucasian woman who is literally kissing the boots, licking the boots of black men who are walking by. I, in the life of me, have never seen this level of absolute black. I want to use the word. Can I say the word on here? Okay. It starts with a C and ends with a uck. Starts with a C and ends with a. I've never seen this level of black C-ucketry in my entire life. Do y'all see the level of white guilt that is being harbored within this woman's psyche? She is kissing the dirty ass boots of these dudes walking up to her. And they're talking about, look at the Lord's work. Right, a shame.
And this is a good white woman, man. She's showing her deeds, man, to the Lord, man. And the most.
Now we can only imagine what else she is doing with said individuals. But again, here we have the aftermath of George Floyd and the big hoax. So I guess that is, well, that's exactly what they were looking for. That's exactly what they wanted. That's exactly what they were going for. The BLM scam was in part to, obviously, to gain financially. But on the other side, it was to gain the social ground, right? I just read from cover to cover the Communist Manifesto yesterday, actually, this last Sunday. And let's just say that what we're seeing right now is it's bar for bar what that man was purporting. It's bar for bar. These people want to destroy any social order in order to put their own into the place of it. Like, true communism doesn't actually have its own grounding. Its purpose is to destroy whatever's in the way and whatever is seen as the order of the day. So if normalcy or, you know, the culture is, well, actually, no, I have to add this. It's the oppressed versus the oppressor narrative. That's at the foundation, at the core of communism. And therefore, the oppressor must rise up above the oppressor and must make the oppressor kiss their shoes, right? That's pretty much communism wrapped up in a neat bow and tie. So here we have the final video, which is going viral currently, which is now the celebration, the 5-year anniversary of black superhero George Floyd. And here we're outside of a Target. So if you guys didn't know, the black folks on the left are protesting. They are boycotting Target. They have had it. They are over it, and they are no longer purchasing goods from Target, at least not publicly, right? Let's check some bank statements. But anyway, here we have a video that recently came out, and this is essentially a moment of silence for black hero, Black Hancock. Well, Hancock technically was a black guy, so this is Hancock Jr.'s moment of silence. Yep. All these people who cared so much about George Floyd. Look at them. They got the baby in the front. No comment. So yeah, here we have worship of George Floyd. You know, these so-called Christian conservative black folks throughout the United States, or at least conservative in values, but definitely not in the voting booths. They seem to have more allegiance to this so-called hero, the so-called martyr, than they do the one they claim to actually worship. Right? You got black folks who are more riled up about the death of George Floyd than they are about the death of Christ. Did I say that out loud? Yeah. All of this is for show. All of this is for show. Remember when they did the black squares? I don't know if you guys remember that. It was an Instagram black square viral trend where if you stood with BLM, you stood with Black Lives Matter, you would post a black square onto your Instagram account, and that would qualify you as a champion for the cause. That's all you had to do. Nothing else. You didn't have to donate $1. I mean, you literally did not have to leave your house. You could sit your ass on your couch or lay your ass on your bed and post a black square, and you were now initiated in the midst of the woke. This is America. So yeah, in the spirit of George Floyd, and this is not to insult a man who is now dead. You know, I don't wish that on anybody. And my pettiness can go overboard, but that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to remember on this anniversary how all of us were finessed and duped. Well, at least many were finessed and duped, and others of us were afraid of the loud minority that had started to essentially bully the rest of us. If we continue to be silent, we will find ourselves right back in the very same place. That's the warning I continue to give, right? You know, this doesn't happen overnight. This was death by 1,000 cuts. It was one little thing after one little thing after. Oh, we just want this right. We just want this. We just want the right to exist. We just want the. Then all of a sudden, we want to take your children and mutilate them, castrate them chemically, and physically, right? How do we get here? We got here because we allowed for. We didn't call this nonsense out. We didn't call it exactly what it was. I mean, there were some who were, don't get me wrong. You know, there were folks back in 2016 who saw through the ruse back way before that. Throughout their lives, they've been seeing the ruse. But we're not a place where more of us than ever are seeing the truth. And if we don't speak up against it, again, the fear of being called a racist, I believe, is long gone. The fear of being called a misogynist, homophobe, all of that is gone. At least I hope so, because it's the only way that we're going to have these honest conversations. George Floyd was not a hero. George Floyd was not a hero. He was a man who had a criminal record. He was a man who essentially was being brought in for an arrest. Now, was Derek Chauvin, was he a blatant racist? I don't know. I've never met him. I've never had a conversation. I've never gotten to know him in any respect beyond what the media pushed as far as a narrative. But what I do know is that the media took the story and they made of it what they wanted it to be. George Floyd is not a hero. You know who's a hero? Those little girls who went into the first integrated school. Those little boys who went into the first integrated schools in Jim Crow America. They were heroes, right? The individuals who fought on the basis of slavery or to end slavery. The soldiers of the Union, black and white, who fought to abolish the evil institution known as slavery that is still being practiced in much of the world today in different forms, but slavery nonetheless. Those are heroes. The people that go to fight for your freedom and truly believe they're doing so, even though sometimes they are manipulated by the very government that sends them, those are the heroes. The ones going into those burning buildings, those are the heroes. The ones that are protecting our streets. The ones who take it as their civil duty to protect their fellow citizen, those are the heroes. The fathers and the mothers who raise their children righteously with morality and dignity and honor and integrity. Those are the heroes. The ones who go out there and risk financially as well as socially to create something that can then employ masses of people or even a small cohort of people. Those are the heroes. George Floyd was not a hero. He was a man, and every man deserves his dignity, but he was not a hero. So the worship of him, it's nothing more than virtue signal. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 365, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.